Hey guys! I hope you all had a wonderful spring break. It's Miss A. I am going to be doing our science this week. And so before we were out of school, we had started talking about the solar system. So we are still going to be talking about one specific planet, which is really a star, which I think a lot of you guys know, which is the sun, is kind of what we're going to be talking about in our science standard for this week. So I have some questions here for you to think about. Just for today, we're just going to start with some thoughts. I'm going to give you these questions and have you think about what you think the answers to them are. Feel free to discuss them with your brother or sister or your mom and dad, telling them what you think, kind of like you would do a turn talk or a mixed pair share at school. Or you can just do it alone, but you'll need a piece of paper or a science notebook or some type of notebook where you can keep track of our questions, because today we're going to have a set of questions and then tomorrow we're going to have a separate set of questions for you to respond to, because we're going to kind of build on an idea all week long. And so before we get to our actual questions, I want to talk about our standard this week, our science standard. So I'm actually going to show it where you can see it, and I'm going to read it. This week, what we're going to focus on trying to understand is that changes in the length and direction of an object's shadow, and I underline that in red because that's our special science word, indicate the changing position of the sun during the day. So position is like where the sun is during the day. And what we're going to be thinking about is, how does the sun affect these shadows? And so one of our top questions, before I get to that though, I do want to ask this question, and I'm going to give you just a second to think about it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. So if we're talking about shadows, you guys probably already have an idea in your head of what a shadow is. I know you see the word shadow up here and here and here and here. So I know you already have some sort of idea, but what I want you to think about is, what is our main source of natural light here on our planet? So I'm going to give you just a second to think about that. So if you said the sun, then you are correct. Of course, we have lights in our houses, we have flashlights, we have fire, we have all these things that can make light and can create shadows. When we think about the ultimate light source that our planet needs for growing food, for us to stay healthy, that helps create those shadows, it is the sun. So just like in our standard here, it actually says sun, because that's what we're going to be thinking about here, is the sun and what effect that has on the shadows. So I'm going to go ahead and start with our first question. So our first question is, what is a shadow and how do you think they are created? So I'm going to give you just a second. This would be your time when you would want to pause the video, get your pencil and notebook ready to go ahead and start to answer your thoughts on what is a shadow. And if you're not ready to write right now, just be thinking and say out loud, even if you're by yourself, say out loud, what would you say if we were doing a turn talk at school about what a shadow is? So we're going to start with that first. And I'm going to give you just a second. Again, if you're writing, you might want to pause this right now. And then when you're ready, you can hit play again. So thinking about what is a shadow. All right, so if you are back with me now, I know that you're probably thinking about your shadow when you're walking down the street, you're outside, you see a shadow on the ground. You may have played shadow puppets before, where you have a flashlight and you're making little animals with your hands or shapes with your hands and making those shadows. So I know that you have some sort of idea of what that is. So I'm going to give you now the scientific definition of a shadow. So here it is. A shadow is a dark area or shape produced by an object coming between rays of light and a surface. So there's our scientific answer. So one thing I heard when I was talking about that was, I heard rays of light, and we've already talked about our main source of light being the sun. So keeping that in mind, as well as any other forms of light when you're in your house or anything like that, I want you to go ahead and be thinking about how do you think shadows are created? So if you are standing outside on the sidewalk right now and you see your shadow, why is it there? What do you think is helping make that happen? So that's the second part of our question. How do you think shadows are created? And I'm going to go ahead and read your other two questions, and then I'm going to give you time to answer those. Remember, if you're not ready to write right now, you can just listen to me read them and look at them, and you can always go back and play the video back again when you're ready to either write them or just discuss. Discuss with a brother or sister, like I said, or somebody in your house if you would rather talk it out. So number 2 says, what are some objects that you think create shadows? So we've already mentioned one so far, and that's definitely us. Us as people, when we're walking around outside, if we walk into a dark room that has a little bit of light coming from like the hallway, we can make a shadow. But I want you to think about what are some other things, objects, that can make a shadow. And that leads into our third question. Can you think of any objects that will not have a shadow? This one was really hard for me when I was thinking about it because I was like, what wouldn't make a shadow? So you have to think about, the hint would be, think about what is something that sunlight or any type of light can actually go straight through. Because the problem is, the reason why you're creating a shadow when it's just yourself or a solid object is because you're kind of blocking that light. So think about things that maybe wouldn't block the light when you're thinking about that. And like I said, these are our questions to just get us started on our discussion this week. When we come back tomorrow, we're going to have a few other questions that kind of build on to what we're going to lead up to this week on our big topic again of knowing how the changes in length and the direction of an object's shadow, because tomorrow we're going to be talking about the size of the shadows, and how that has to do with the position of the sun. So go ahead and take a few minutes to answer these questions, and we will see you back tomorrow.